There are 5 types of digital media overuse, and these are the 5 types that are based in the internet. These are the 5 that we find most people who use the internet may have problems with at one time or another. So I'll briefly describe each of the 5 types and give an example. The first is gaming, and this again is internet-based gaming. And for example, one of our most problematic types of video games are our multiplayer role-playing games. And so this is when you're able to engage with other people through the game, whether that's a friend or somebody you don't know. And next we have information overload. And information overload is one that I think a lot of us experience, where we're spending time on the computer, we're reading the news, we're engaged in chat rooms, or we're watching Netflix or YouTube videos. That's information overload. Next, we have compulsive spending. And compulsive spending covers many areas. It can be spending too much money on Amazon or eBay, or even trading stocks. For our middle school and high school age groups, where we see the most problems with compulsive spending is in video games. And video games more and more now are requiring that you spend in game in order to advance in the game. And that's a big concern because we're seeing young people get their hands on their parents' credit cards and spending thousands of dollars a month in our more extreme cases. So one of our recommendations is don't give your child your credit card if they're going to be playing games online. Next is social media, and I think many of us are very familiar with this one. This includes Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. And then last but not least is pornography. And we know that this is a big problem area for our middle school and high school age group. It's probably the one that's least talked about, however. I think many parents are not aware their children are engaging in pornography. But this is an area that Dr. Kennedy in particular specializes in. If you have questions about that, you definitely want to direct those towards him. So how many of you have or do feel confident that your child has an addiction to technology? Well, it's important to look at this continuum that's up on the screen. You'll see that a small segment of the population actually meets criteria for addiction. 8.5% of children 8 to 18 meet criteria for addiction, and our most vulnerable group are college students. And they fall into 13 to almost 18.5% meet criteria for internet addiction. So we know that digital media overuse is more relevant to the larger population. Dr. Kennedy and I refer to it as digital media overuse because it captures more of our larger population and the struggles that they're having. And when we work with kids and teenagers, it's not often that we'll use the word addiction when we work with them. I want to highlight a few key areas that we look for when we do diagnose addiction. And the most important is if your child is experiencing serious impacts in their social world, their academic, and or if somebody you know is experiencing major issues in their workplace because of screen use. People who meet the criteria for addiction experience strong and unpleasant feelings and reactions when the behavior is removed. This is often seen in our teens and middle school age group, displayed as aggression, violence towards family members, self-harming behaviors towards self, property damage. And despite the serious consequences that they have dealt towards them, they're not able to stop the behavior on their own. And no matter how much they talk about how problematic it is, they're unable to stop. There's more criteria that's required, and it's important to note that we need to see these behaviors sustain for up to a 12-month period. And so it can be quite a while before you might actually receive the treatment needed for addiction. However, for us, we're looking at the whole spectrum. And we have families come in who are looking for education and are proactive with younger children. And most of our clients fall in the overuse category.